For these, a pessimistic philosophy is pleasing to the carnal mind. Why? Because behavioral permissiveness flourishes amid a sense of hopelessness. Because if human appetites are mistakenly viewed as the only authentic reality, and now is the only moment which matters, why should one check-rein any impulse or defer any gratification? But immortality and accountability are intertwined. Yes, there are some who live without hope, who, though having reached such a wrong conclusion, nevertheless maintain right conduct. In such decent individuals, the light of Christ, though unacknowledged, burns still. If it were not so, we would despise a Gandhi and admire a Hitler instead of feeling just the opposite. Such spreading pessimism does not necessarily mean back to the catacombs for Christians, or that secular Caesars will soon reopen the Colosseum. But already there are would-be Caesars who will refuse to settle for citizens who render to Caesar only that which is his, and unto God all that is his. This sense of despair is further intensified by the demonstrated emptiness of materialism. Increased goods will not suffice if men display decreased goodness. Likewise, the mere accumulation of knowledge without purpose and of information without wisdom constitutes ever learning but never coming to a knowledge of the truth. Afflicted with anguish, some wander to and fro upon the earth in search of truth without knowing where to find it. One such prominent wanderer was described by a colleague. It is strange how he persists in wandering to and fro. He can neither believe nor be comfortable in his unbelief. Such is the scene, therefore, of which we are a part. Many reject the Scriptures, the moral memory of mankind, and then declare absolutely the absence of absolutes. Others reject the light of the gospel and then grump over the growing darkness. Still others cut themselves off from God and lament the loneliness of the universe. Some pursue the paths of him who openly desires mankind's misery and then bemoan their discontent. The true Christian, of course, does not see life as an easy passage. The cross comes before the crown, and tomorrow is a Monday morning. With ultimate hope, however, we can live cheerfully amid proximate insecurity. Life is a test in which man must overcome by faith, walking on the straight and narrow path which is surely no escalator, but the path is there. And death is not the permanent annihilation of the human personality and individuality. President Brigham Young wisely declared that the preservation of human intelligence and individuality through the atonement and resurrection is the greatest gift that was ever bestowed upon mankind. Just as in translating, the prophet Joseph Smith processed truths more profound than even he then knew. We are custodians and possessors of a gospel of bright and realistic hope. It is a hope for which many hunger more deeply than we can possibly imagine. We poorly serve the cause of the Lord at times with programmatic superficiality and by our lack of empathy for those who drift in despair. Truly, we live and walk on a street full of splendid strangers, whom we are to love and serve even if they are disinterested in us. Therefore, seen through the eye of faith, the sweep of history is not evidence of a purposeless world. Instead, we see successive waves of humans as the cast on this mortal stage changes again and again. And however articulate some of those despairing actors are in this human drama, without the gospel light, they view only a tiny portion of one scene, not even a whole act, and certainly not the whole play. Such are invited to understand the purposes and instructions of the author of this drama. But when he finally comes on stage, the play is over. Meanwhile, we should not impute man's failures to God. Remember that it is not the work of God that is frustrated, but the work of men. Indeed, man's successes and failures were known from the beginning by the Lord, and were taken into account by him in the unfolding of his plan of salvation. His purposes will be fully achieved. justice, love, mercy, and truth will finally prevail in a universe presided over by a Lord who is a determined as well as loving tutor. This mortal school is one of which the Father and Son have solemnly declared, and we will prove them herewith to see if they will do all things whatsoever the Lord their God shall command them. The Lord knows how true individual development requires a setting of agency and opportunity. There is no other way. No wonder apostles and prophets have told us not to be moved away from the hope of the gospel, for hope is the anchor of the soul, to make them sure and steadfast, always abounding in good works. The need, therefore, is for devoted disciples to do as Paul said, to shine as lights in the world, illuminating that latter-day valley foreseen by Joel. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision.